Hello, and welcome to It Takes a Viking, Salem State's alumni podcast. Today, I am thrilled to have with me Kati Nalbandian from the class of 2015. Kati is a member of the inaugural class of our 40 under 40 group, and I'm thrilled to have her with me, as I said, and I'm thrilled also on a personal note because Kati and I actually had the pleasure of studying together in the theater program at Salem State. So I'd like to say welcome to Kati.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's a great honor to be part of that inaugural class and to be chatting with you today, Jenny.
Of course, always good to connect with you, Kati. I wanted to just kick us off I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and your history, because I love to hear people's stories. And so if you could just kind of jump in with us and tell us a little bit of how you ended up studying at Salem State.
Sure. So I was actually born in Mass, and I grew up out in the Worcester area. And in looking for a theater arts degree program, Salem State was a really great option for me. The liberal arts background, a university. It was newly a university when I began there, and it allowed me to be in Salem, which I learned that I really loved the city of Salem, and the campus was growing. So yeah, I ended up going to Salem kind of by happenstance, and I was really excited when I was accepted. I actually remember my accepted students day and meeting Bill Cunningham, who was the chair of this theater department at the time, and seeing his big smile and the tour that they did for everyone, and knowing, again, seeing the city of Salem as well, and just knowing that I needed to be there. So that's really it. I did a lot of different arts and creative things prior to deciding to major in theater. So that was actually a tough choice. So I think that's a big part of it, Jenny, is that I was excited that there was a liberal arts background at Salem State. And as time went on, I learned that was the right choice, because there was a lot more to learn and to absorb and to grow from in that community. So.
That's great. What is it about Salem that you started to fall in love with, or maybe you didn't use those words, but.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that really is what it was. I think even before I began to immerse myself off campus, like that first day when I came to tour the area, I noticed that there's just so much charm, of course, in Salem, and the architecture and the history, but the creative community in Salem, at Salem State as well, on campus, but off campus, I quickly absorbed this awareness of how important the creative community was. And as my story went on and I graduated from Salem State, I was really able to find my niche there. And I worked with a creative collective, which was Creative Salem at the time. It was a small startup, really promoting small businesses in the creative realm, whether that was producing small concerts or festivals. I was doing little photo booths at creative community events and stuff like that, Salem Arts Festival. And so it was right in my back door. Salem State's right there. There's so much opportunity, I think, for people who are interested in creative arts, especially.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you say you found your niche, can you talk a little bit more about that? You found your niche at Salem State. Is that how you kind of felt?
Yeah, I was already working off campus when I was in school, so that allowed me to kind of always feel like what things were on and off campus. But yeah, when I was on campus, I also found a club. I was vice president, I think, for both years, while I was involved with the Women's Center, which I believe now is a feminist club. I'm actually not sure of the title. They changed it after I left, but it was the Florence Loscombe Women's Center at Salem State. Was one of the oldest is one of the oldest clubs on campus. And it was very exciting to be able to be part of that. The theater department is certainly its own club and has a lot of its own activities and happening. But so to find another layer of what was happening on campus and get involved in that was really exciting. So that I did that finally junior and senior year. And actually, upon graduating, Jenney, I started a little Facebook group for feminist issues. And about a year later, we started doing in-person events at Coda, which is a restaurant and venue in downtown Salem. And we were having monthly feminist art nights. So it all progressed into that too. But I think honestly, without being exposed to that at Salem State, I don't know if I would have had that opportunity. So we did a lot of great stuff, that club. We went, did some trips down to DC, and we had some on-campus stuff as well. So there's a lot of layers to it. I think, Salem State's a smaller university, at least for people who are living on campus, especially when I was there. There's new dorms, it's expanding every day. But even within that smaller community on campus, there's so much happening. There's so many different things that you can learn about yourself or get involved in.
Absolutely. And now you were a theater major and a minor in public relations. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to do the BFA program. And back then you could audition while you were in the program. But I actually remember, this is kind of anecdotal, but I remember putting on one of my last resumes that you bring to your juries. These are like the auditions that you have to do every semester if you're trying to become a BFA. I put like how I was interested in doing all of the different things. I was doing a lot of scenic painting for the department for participation credit. And I really loved that. And I really loved doing soundboard one time. And I loved all of these elements of the theater and of production. And so I thought that was going to help me become a BFA. And they were like, actually, it's really smart that you don't do this. And at first I was devastated, right? This is what I wanted in my head. So anyway, that allowed me to choose a minor. And I decided to choose communications and public relations. And a couple of the professors that I met along the way, actually Rebecca Haynes, I met through the Women's Center that I mentioned earlier. She was our advisor at the time. She's a communications department professor, a lovely, lovely human being. And another professor, Cindy Vincent, I'm not sure she's there anymore. So yeah, there were a couple of great professors in the communications department that really helped me think outside the box. How can you build like a communications plan to launch your dream theater department or your dream venue? Like, what were my dream ideas back in the day, a few years ago? So they allowed me to learn new skills in order for that to happen. And I think that was it. It all really panned out the way that it should have.
Great. Yeah, no, it is. It's so important to to learn those things, especially when you're in the arts, to learn about, how does a theater company run, and, what is your dream theater company? And even if it's just completely outside the box and completely something that's unrealistic, it's great that you were encouraged to think and learn those things. Because I guess segues into my next question, how does that segue into your career now and your work now? And can you tell us a little bit about your work and how you ended up doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so right now I'm actually about to begin my second year at Boston University studying my master's in arts administration, which definitely is preparing me to continue to understand how like a nonprofit organization functions. So it's really like a business administration for nonprofits with special topics in the arts. So I'm learning a lot about fundraising and development right now. But I also have been doing a lot of marketing work up until last year. Like I mentioned, I was working with Salem and Creative Collective. I've done a lot of event production, and I think the buzz of the events is really what translated, I guess, from my experience in theater. And I really hadn't done a lot of theater specifically until the pandemic. I did some virtual shows. I joined back with the Ridiculous Project, which is an alumni founded, Salem State alumni founded theater group. And this year we're just actually in a couple of weeks, we're putting up our Dream Love Escape, which is a remix of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I've been working with that group for a little over a year now. And yeah, right at this moment in life, it's a little hodgepodge of different things and activities. But I think it's actually really thrilling, and it's allowed me to kind of continue to navigate different projects. So you're never really like tied down to one thing. I think my hope is to eventually settle into a full-time position of some sort, of course, but in this moment in my life, it's been fantastic. So
I love, it didn't even occur to me when we were reconnecting yesterday during lunch. I love that you didn't start doing theater again until the pandemic, which is when most people actually had to stop doing theater. So I love that.
Yeah. It is true. But again, a lot of the stuff that I had been doing in event production, I was able to like work with artists. I was just like on the other side of things. Yeah. So I was able to like hire or manage a performer at a gala or something like that. Or there's, the bands that come and just dealing with that kind of as a production manager as opposed to an actor or everything else that we cover in the Department of Theater Arts at Salem State. But
can you talk a little bit more about the Ridiculous Project and how you got involved with them?
Sure. So I was aware of the Ridiculous Project when they were founded back in 2014. I believe Jenney here is actually one of the co-founder with Kate Emery, who was my advisor at Salem State. She was my favorite professor. She was always, she's my advisor, so she has to, listen to me and let me come in for office hours, but it was always way beyond that. And I always felt like I was a little on the outside of the theater department. I always kind of wanted to do my own thing, but she always was like, these are the things that we can do. And she was always very welcoming. Nonetheless, she's wanted to relaunch the Ridiculous Project after a couple-year hiatus and reached out to me at the beginning of 2020 before the pandemic. We were working on producing a show, of course, that got tossed to the side. But yeah, so we reconnected, and she's been very vocal about how excited she is that I'm back around and that we're working together. We've been a great team, but we also have, great cast, and we're working with some designers. Actually, the Ridiculous Project for this show that I was mentioning, the Dream Love Escape, there's half the cast is Salem State theater alumni. And one that I want to shout out is Nate Dykes, who was in our class as well, or you definitely worked with him as well. And he's doing our sound design. So I'm really, really excited to work with him again. He's done some projects with Kate at Salem State, and since has been working with another Salem State alumni and 40 under 40 class, Nate McIff. He is has the Wandering Stage, and that's a great project. It's like a trailer, way cooler than a trailer, a moving stage with all the bells and whistles. And so actually the Nates have been working together on that. But anyway, Nate is working with us on this show, and it's a good time. Awesome. I can tell you more about the show. I want to make sure we answer all the other questions.
Yeah. I mean, when we were talking yesterday, you said something really cool that I kind of wanted to revisit, and I'm going to try to paraphrase what you said, but it was something, and you kind of touched upon it just now, but you said something about how, you did, when you were in the theater department, you did feel like an outsider, but it was because you, now correct me if I'm wrong here, but you felt like an outsider because you didn't feel like you were a strong actor, but Kate, the way she taught and her process she was able to sort of like help you through that.
Definitely. I would say that that's true. I felt like an outsider. I didn't have a lot of experience specifically in theater and acting prior to deciding to go to school for that. I thought that was how we learned how to act. But of course, lots of people come and they have a lot of different levels of experience coming into, college level degree courses. But her process is that the process is the product. I'm sure you've heard her say that. She's been saying that a lot lately, especially while we're making work during a pandemic, because the pandemic is still here, unfortunately. So I think that's this very almost yoga infused, right? Like she has a background in that as well. These very like familiar, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. Like modals of practicing, centering your body. It was very different than some of the other approaches that I had seen in the past, or that, that were available to me. And I think at least adding that layer in on top of the other more traditional acting processes or practices was very beneficial for me to feel like I was capable of doing that. I think I'm more of a mover. I'm either moving or talking. It's really difficult for me to do both for some reason. So the work that we did with Kate in her classes, made me feel like I could approach it in that way. And that was something totally different and new for me.
Can you share, do you have any memories from your time, like fun memories, or like, did you live in the dorms?
I did. I lived in the dorms freshman and sophomore year. So I was in Marsh sophomore year. I remember folks like playing Frisbee in the common at Marsh, or they call it the quad at Marsh. And I loved going to the gym. I'm so glad that the new fitness center was built. That was new while I was there. So it was like a fun present as a student there.
Awesome.
Yeah, great facilities. The library was actually built or relocated and built while I was there. So the improvements, in facilities, of course, are fantastic and growing. But memories, I don't know if I have a specific one. I was in the theater department. I was part of the directed study that Kate had held, and that was a very unique experience. I hope that there's opportunities like that, like some of the current professors are able to offer. There's just nothing like that working with, in an academic setting, you really are working on a show for a short period of time and you put it up. And even in professional setting, that's often the case. So it's very unique to be able to work and devise theater. So you're creating the idea, you're really putting everything together. It's not quite playwriting until the very end. So you're pulling all of these ideas together. So that was a very, very unique experience for me to be able to kind of see how that's done and work with a group of students along with myself, and awesome. Put the show up before I graduated. So
that's awesome. So like you, with this show and you were able to be part of the process from the very beginning through the end, which is, like you said, yes, very unique and special experience.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Can you tell me, what does being a Salem State Viking mean to you?
Well, now that I'm seeing the class, the 40 under 40 inaugural class, we are some strong, hardworking, passionate, and compassionate types of people. I kept talking about the creative community earlier on, but I think that goes throughout like the layers of study, right? Like it doesn't need just maybe you studied nursing, but you're very, of course, you're compassionate if you're a nurse. I think that all of the people that go to Salem State that are really like there and working hard to achieve their degree, I think that they're there for a reason. Some of people work really hard just to be at Salem State, right? The unique thing about a state university, from my perspective, is that people are coming from so many different backgrounds. You know, you're not walking into a classroom where everyone, you know, grew up in the same neighborhood or from the same, you know, family type or anything like that. So that is really unique in the fact that everyone's coming together at Salem State to achieve their dreams, or, you know, begin them at least, is remarkable. But I will highlight the word compassion for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time to talk with me today and share a little bit about yourself with all of us. So go see Dream, Love, Escape. When is it running?
Sure. So Dream, Love, Escape, thanks to Salem Public Art Commission, actually, we received a grant to put the show up. It'll be a free public performance series in Derby Square, which is off of Front Street behind Old Town Hall, or in front of Old Town Hall, depending which way you're coming from. And the show is at 7 p.m. the 4th, 5th, 11th, and 12th of September. And as I mentioned, it's with the Ridiculous Project. We have a guest director, Rebecca Holderness, coming, and she's been working with us this summer. So we're very excited. It would be great to see you all there. It's free. There'll be some seating. And even if you search on Instagram at Dream, Love, Escape, there's another Instagram page where you can learn a little dance sequence to kind of join an immersive opportunity at the beginning of the show. So
yeah, you can be part of the show if you want to.
Yeah. Not required, but encouraged for sure.
Awesome. Cool. And you go and support live theaters, local live theater. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenney. Thank you, Salem State alumni.
All right.
Glad to have been here.